Good morning, everyone. I wanted to take a moment before we receive our offering to talk about our communion, not just in terms of how we individually receive it, but in terms of our health in light of current concerns about coronavirus. A few years ago, when I was serving at the Woodbury United Methodist Church, we had a great scare around the H1N1 flu virus. And there was a lot of preparation at that time that was done in case there should be a pandemic across the country. As it happened, that disease was not as dangerous as the coronavirus is. As it happens, we also were able to avoid a major pandemic. But that was an opportunity for many churches to reconsider how we offer the sacrament of Holy Communion and how we worship together. So I want to point out to you a couple things that we already do here that I hope will be a reassurance to you. And I want to encourage you to remember that Christians, especially United Methodist Christians, are prepared but not panicked. All right? So it is wise to be thinking about, do you have the comfort items and the food necessary that if you yourself were to become ill for any reason, you would be able to stay at home and not share your illness with everyone at the grocery store while you're running for decongestants. It's worth thinking about that in advance. It's worth thinking about, are there people in your neighborhood who might need help or support if they became ill? Are there people who might need help caring for their children if daycares are closed? You can be making those kinds of connections now, and that is a good and gracious thing to do, and it has nothing to do with panic or worry. It has to do with care and preparation and loving kindness towards your neighbors. When we have communion here at Brunswick, I go to the table, or Pastor Yolanda does, and the first thing I do before I touch any of the elements is use the alcohol hand sanitizer that's on the altar table. And I used to do this back here, like behind the pulpit where you couldn't see me, but now I do it out here. You all watch me do it. It happens, right? So I have just cleansed my hands. I also wash my hands immediately before I come in on Sunday mornings, but it's a fair bit of time between the beginning of worship and when we serve communion. Then our servers come forward, and when they come forward, the pastor leading worship hands them the bread. So the person with cleansed hands touches the bread, but the servers don't. And that group of people is not given the opportunity to dip the bread in the cup because they haven't cleansed their hands yet, and they're about to touch their mouths. So what happens is they receive the bread from clean hands, they receive a cup from clean hands, they eat them, they receive them, they touch their hands to their face, they come and cleanse their hands before they serve you. And that's how we've done this as long as I've been here at Brunswick. So perhaps you might not feel comfortable coming to receive Holy Communion. Sometimes people can't swallow the bread or can't tolerate that. You can still come forward if you would like to and just receive a blessing. If you just keep your hands here and fold your head, we'll know that you just want to be blessed, and we'll offer you a blessing. So you can stay in your pew and not feel ashamed or afraid. If you don't feel comfortable coming forward, that's fine. But I want you to know that we do use, I think, appropriate care. There's been really good double-blind studies done on infectious transfer, like just the common cold and how those things transfer through Holy Communion. And the answer is they pretty much don't. You are much more at risk by getting sneezed or coughed on or by not washing your own hands. If you just avoid touching your own face and wash your own hands frequently, that's probably the biggest thing you can do to protect yourself from all kinds of little things that might be floating around in the air. We will probably, if at some time in the future, be receiving instructions, whether it's for this coronavirus or something else, where the health department and other government officials will invite us or ask us or demand of us that we do not have public meetings or that we manage ourselves in a certain way. And it would be my intention as your pastor to honor those requests. And as we have appropriate scientific information, we will respond appropriately together with those health professionals who are our partners, who are caring about us in that way. So with that, happy to answer other questions for you after church, or to provide a really interesting scientific study if you want to know about germs in the communion cup, because they really aren't that bad. That's